We are live.
Oh!
And there it is again. Hey guys, welcome to episode 4, I believe, of Dice Dogs. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
4 straight games.
God damn.
It's weird to have officially a campaign going on this long, because it's always a case of like, hey, yeah, no, I'll get back to you later, and then they don't contact you for 3 years.
D&D
No.
campaigns go.
I'm
Not
here
us.
every day. I
I'm
want
also
more.
here.
Okay, so, hi, I'm your DM, Connor Mann. With me, as always, is Sophie, Vinn, Finn, Ethan, and M. And you, of course, are watching Dice Dogs. I feel stupid doing a YouTube intro. I always feel like on the very... I always feel like I'm on the very nice edge of just being like, oh, what's up, guys? Ugh.
Yeah, well, don't. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to start with the screen covered and then take your hand away and then say, "What is up, guys?"
I was...
What's up, Dice Dogs? Welcome back to another YouTube video.
I
Smash that like button. Hit that bell.
I told some of my old work
And
friends...
subscribe.
I told some of my old work friends that I had a YouTube channel now, and they said, "Oh, so you're a content creator?" And I felt like the bile rising in my throat.
Don't say that. Don't ever say that.
I would
You could
rather.
also say that, seeing how this video is actually going up on YouTube.
I would rather.
This is unfortunately content, yeah.
Yeah, I would. But the thing is, I would rather chew and swallow an actual knife than be called a content creator.
If you chew it, it's probably not
It's
that
like-
bad.
It's like the word Keemstar or the word social media expert. It means nothing. It
Social
means-
media expert.
Yeah, we have a Twitter though.
So
We do.
anyway, my Twitter
Yeah.
is
Okay.
Technically,
so-
the social media expert would be Vinn, I think, because he runs the Twitter.
Okay, so,
I'm our PR.
Before we get started here, a little bit of housekeeping. Is there anybody wants to plug any Instagrams, any social medias at all?
I would like to read Dhuur'in's diary entry out loud.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Okay. Dans usran vori. Ustan rishonata uvarin. Namat usta. Nindol usta yornajak. Unata nugri ramo. Usta narvelendev jileg usa sunu.
And in English?
In English.
No, don't.
No English.
Just let us guess.
all right. Well,
I wrote
just
it in the
guess.
server.
Nothing.
that reminds me. I don't like do a lot of pot or anything. It's legal here in Oregon, but I don't smoke. But I will occasionally have like the little gummy edibles that you can get. And there was a point with my old roommate where like I ate one and then watched a Godzilla movie and like went through the entire thing with the subtitles off, and I just kind of pretended that I knew what was going on. I was like, yeah. And apparently at some point my roommate looked over and was like, "You don't know what they're saying." I was like, "Yeah, no, I don't."
It's a Godzilla movie, so you could probably guess what was going on for the most
There's
part.
probably
Yeah.
a lot of
It's
runaway.
like the storytelling was very subtle. Yeah, it's a big.
Rar means I love you in dinosaur.
That's what they said. Mm-hmm.
All right.
You got it.
Without further ado, are we ready to get started?
Yes.
Okay.
Pause, please. Okay.
Stop!
By the way,
All right.
Finn, Vin, you wrote about Fenkin having well manicured nails, so I have rising up for the occasion.
Oh yes, I am writing a fan fiction about Dhuur'in and Karn, the orc, non-published. It's not going to be anywhere and nobody will see it, but I am writing a fan fiction.
But we'll see
I
it.
mean, we'll see it. So
We know.
It's the sequel to Tusk Love. Anyway,
what?
so So,
Don't say this.
without any further ado, for real this time, as you guys will remember, where we left off last time, you guys liberated the tortured hippogriff Stormfang from the throes of madness, and also cleared up the mountain paths through the Sirios Mountains so that Imperial caravans could make their way across the mountains from Pride's Call. So, as it stands right now, you have very good standing in the community, and I believe it was Ethan last time who asked this question. People around Pride's Call have been calling you the Shepherds, and we'll say that after a bit of questioning, Florin has explained that after bringing home the Shimmer Stout, somebody said something along the lines of you guys being shepherds of good tidings, and because you basically kept the party going for all of the Harvest Close Festival, and you've only cemented your good reputation in Pride's Call with your last mission. So, if you want that to be your team name, you can. If you want it might change later. I don't know. That's how D&D rolls sometimes. But
Wait, but what about all the damage we caused?
Yeah.
well,
That's
I
not
mean,
part of it.
The jail afterwards. So
That's not part of it.
when you're on the Starosta's good side, as well as the good side of like the main brewer in a town of dwarves, you tend to keep a good reputation no matter what you do.
If we're the shepherds, can Dhuur'in be the black sheep?
Aww.
That's brilliant.
Because he's a drow, I don't know if that's racist or not.
Probably racist.
I feel like that's really racist. Like,
I was just like referring to his cloak, but sure, okay.
his cloak's green. What?
What?
Look at Vinn right now. Wait, his cloak is not green. I don't believe
No,
that.
in my character art. Connor, pull up my character art and show people.
This whole time I've been thinking he was like a shadow being with like a black
Yeah, he's
cloak.
got a shadow here, but his cloak is like a dark green.
Yeah, hold on, I'll pull that up.
Okay, then he's the green sheep.
First and foremost,
Green,
here's,
Yeah, he's green sheep.
first and foremost, here's some doodles that that Vinn did. In all fan art, I am to be depicted as the professor from Puppet History. I will have it no other way. But where is it? Where is it? Oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is. It
Like
is.
the
Why
first-
did I think it was green? Why did I think it was green? Yeah. Yeah. This is Dhuur'in right here for all you fans out there, all two of you. But in any case, so it's been about 3 days or so since the events that took place at the Sirius Mountain Passes. And the reason for that is because you guys have actually been waiting on a caravan that's been building up that's going to be heading to the Imperial Imperial city of Zadash. And essentially, with everything you've done for Pride's Call, along with the passports that she gave you, the Starosta is basically letting you ride along with the caravan for free. She unfortunately couldn't promise any luxury cabins because those are going to the nobles and stuff that are making their way to Zadash. But fortunately, she was able to get you a cart, and you will be part of that caravan. But so that has been going on the past couple of days, and the day has arrived for the caravan to finally leave. You went this way. Southern end of at the southern end of Pride's Call, there's a big wagon train of a bunch of different wagons and carts getting ready to leave. You know those Oregon Trail style wagons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of like that, but a lot nicer and a little more advanced because this is dwarven craft, remember. And there's about, I want to say, 10 to 15 of them, so this is a pretty substantially long wagon train that you guys are going to be riding on. And eventually, everybody except Nox has been led over to the unfortunately what is the back of the wagon train, and which is the one you will be riding on. And the one that you're riding on is filled to the brim with hay. And for the reason for that is a prize cow is also being transported by the name of Tilly. So you will unfortunately be riding with Tilly, but as the Crown's Guard and as the different merchants are busying themselves with loading the different carts, and as you guys are waiting by this cart with the cow in it, you do hear from an alleyway a very cat-like yowling, and you also hear a pair of voices shouting, "Hey, stop right there!" And as you hear this, you turn to see, sprinting out from an alley, Opportunity Knox, the Tabaxi. And in one of her paws, she seems to be carrying a necklace. And hot on her heels are a pair of Crown's Guard.
God damn it.
Yes. You will all watch her just like real slick slip this necklace into her like her pants, kind of. She probably doesn't have like a pocket, so it's just gonna go right in the pants. And then she'll turn around to face the guard and kind of slow and put her hands up as if to kind of stop them from charging her, and say, guards, okay, let us talk about this, because I think there has been a misunderstanding.
The pair of guards that have been chasing you, they're a pair of dwarves with kind of like halberds pointed out towards you.
Yeah.
And they do kind of have to look up at you because you're a relatively tall tabaxi, and most races are tall compared to them. But one of them says, "There's nothing to talk about. Shopkeep said that they saw a tabaxi slinking out, and that they saw a necklace that was missing. Now you're the only tabaxi we know in the town. You want to explain yourself?"
That is true, and I admit that is damning, but you see, sir, the Tabaxi have a long history of being, what is the word, scapegoated.
I swear to God,
others.
I am going to put you in manacles right now.
I see. Actually, sir, I understand, and whatever I must do to make up for this, I will do. But before we proceed down that path, can I ask you a question, sir? You there, the short one.
They both
She's just pointing to one of them.
Yeah, they both kind of look at each other like...
You, forgive me that this is a odd question, but how old are you, sir?
There's two of them. There's one who looks a bit older, maybe he's a sergeant, and there is a younger one. And the younger one says, 245?
I see. You are a very young man then, and forgive me again for this assumption. Perhaps I am overstepping a line here, but you are a member of the Crown Guard, no? And yet, here you are, in this dark part of the city, chasing down a would-be petty thief. Why are you not assigned to the more important work? Surely you deserve to be putting your mettle to the test in a more substantial way than this. Should I roll persuasion check?
Make a persuasion check with disadvantage.
Persuasion. Okay. With disadvantage?
With disadvantage, yes. Very much so.
It's a 16.
Oh my god. Okay.
Plus 6, baby!
So the younger guard, he doesn't like pull his halberd down, but he does kind of like tip it a bit, and he's kind of thinking, he's like, well, she's making sense. I mean, I've been talking to you, Rod. He looks at his superior. I mean, I have been working hard, right? And he's like, are you seriously talking about this right now? Right now, really? So
I will say I'm glad you said disadvantage because my first roll was a 22. So,
As these two guards start to argue, one of the younger one starts to bring up wages and how he's been on the force for at least 6 months now, and and as this is happening, everybody else, you kind of watch as like Nox takes a moment to like very slowly back away.
She's just gonna subtly make a quick getaway, although she will before she does, because she really wants to make her point. She's going to look at the younger one and say, "Now, again, all I am saying is that I can recognize a man who has high ambition when I see one, and when you are born with the spirit of a howling wolf, you cannot allow them to treat you like a lapdog. So I leave you with this bit of knowledge. Just consider it. It is up to you what you do with this. But I just hate to see a man who deserves a higher standing being stuck doing the dirty work as if that is all he deserves." And she's gonna leave.
And the older guard, as you turn to leave, he does kind of reach out to like stop you, but then the other guard kind of like slaps him in the chest and he's like, "Oh, you know, she's right. I am a wolf or whatever she said." And immediately it starts like divulging into bickering back and forth to the point where they're both totally distracted, and Nox, you're able to get back to the cart, no problem whatsoever.
Get away!
Dhuur'hin is just like sitting on the edge of the cart, like just watching this happen. Like he's got his hands up on his knees and he's just got his head craned down.
She's gonna like kind of just climb up with her cat-like grace. She's gonna grab the side and kind of jump her way up, and as she does, she reaches into her pants and she takes up this little glittering gold necklace and she kind of waves it like and then just puts it back.
So as you do, remember there's a cow in the cart, so basically you just got a face full of cow ass. But
that's fine. I'll take it.
But the necklace itself, you're showing it to Dhuur'hin, right? Is what you
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
whoever is there.
The necklace itself, it does kind of have like gold and silver lined chaining, but the actual pendant itself on the necklace is kind of like this white stone, maybe the size of my thumb. And on the stone is like a black engraving of kind of like, not quite a runic shape, but kind of like a curvier, kind of like crescent moon shape with like a dot where the crescent would be, kind of like that, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta get creative with Zoom. I gotta get creative when I'm doing this over Discord. But you watch as Nox pockets that.
He watches her pocket it very intently.
Can I just ask like where she got it? Just like why did she take it?
In character, yeah.
Oh. Nox, why are you taking that look? I don't understand. Where'd it come from?
You see, this is the story. I was walking through the shops because I knew that we are about to leave, and I thought I must make sure that I am properly stocked for this journey, because caravan trips are very often much more difficult than you intend them to be. So I just went to make sure that I had all of my supplies. And as I was about to leave, and I had paid, make no mistake, I had paid for all of these supplies with my gold that I earned. I just happened to see this little glint in the corner of my eye. And I go and look, and it is this most beautiful necklace with this very strange symbol on it that I have not seen before. Now, I am not an expert in jewelry, and I am certainly not an expert in weird symbols. So perhaps it means nothing, but in my experience, if something is odd, it is usually worth taking with you. So I decided to, it had a very high price tag, And realistically, nobody was going to be paying that. So I decided to liberate it from where it was being kept. Because what good can it do sitting in a shop? Not very much.
Fenkin
I
will
took
sort of
it
listen.
because it's pretty, is what I'm saying.
Fenkin will listen, scoff at her, turn to Ozla and say, "She's a pretty thief, that's all."
But a good one.
That
Do you
is
think
the
we can
difference.
Not
You can.
not to derail the story or anything, but I love the idea of like Nox just kind of like Slav squatting, just like. Anyway.
Maybe she does. I don't know.
So as this conversation is going on, there's kind of red Crown's Guard in red tabards making their way around the carts and getting everything ready. One such guard passes by carrying a big old crate, and you recognize a periwinkle tiefling who seems to recognize you guys as well. And he stops to wave before like the guard behind him kind of nudges him with his own crate, and he starts moving along. So he waves goodbye and heads up further up to the front of the cart, to the front of the wagon train. But eventually, approaching the cart, you see a very lavishly dressed gnome in like nice purple nobleman's wear with like the puffy sleeves and all that.
Oh, I thought you said gnomans.
No. He's got on his forehead are like a pair of green goggles, and above that is like kind of a nice purple like beret with some like gilded symbols on the headband, and a very white curly poofy mustache, kind of like Colonel Sanders style. And he makes his way over to you, kind of like twirling a cane in his hands, and he
I like this guy.
And he makes his way over to you and he says, "Hi, hello. So, you're the shepherds, right?"
I suppose.
Excellent. Well, might I introduce myself? My name is Betty Boris von Patty Cogsprocket, and I am going to be the leader of this wagon train.
Right, is that right?
I'll just spell that.
One more again. Everyone's trying to write it down.
I'll say it again. Betty Boris von Patty Cogsprocket.
Oh.
I thought you said Coke Sprite, and I was like,
Did you say Betty? Like Betty? Are they a dinosaur? Betty Varus?
No, not Betty Saurus. Betty Boris.
Okay. All right.
Betty Von Caddy what?
Jesus Christ. I'm putting it in the general chat because apparently this is going to be an issue.
That, you know what? We should start doing that for just every name. Every name. Just type it out. Because none of us can hear. We are all Gesh 13.
There we go.
Yeah, thank you.
I put it in the general chat.
Thank you.
Okay, Cog Sprocket. I definitely heard Cock Sprite, and I'm glad that's not what I heard.
Anyway.
I heard Cog Sprocket, Connor.
Anyway, whatever. And he kind of like reaches into his pocket and pulls out like a little card and hands it out towards the nearest person, who I'm going to say is Fenkin. And he says, "Freelance merchant for hire and owner of the Cogsprocket Emporium in Zadash."
He eyes the card a little bit, like he doesn't want to touch it, and then he reaches out 2 fingers and he just like then looks at it.
The card itself is black and embossed. It's actually pretty nicely well made, and on it says Cogsprocket Emporium. Basically, and it reveals itself to be like a kind of toy shop. Dhuur'in, can you make me a history check really quick?
We all have good history with those.
Wait, are we going to get dual discs from this?
17.
You got a 17.
Ooh,
okay.
Look at you.
So as Fenkin's kind of looking
good
over the
one.
business, as Fenkin's kind of looking over the business card, Dhuur'hin, you hear the name Cogsprocket, and for some reason that sticks in your head a little bit, and you kind of reach into your pocket and pull out the gold rarity Grog Strongjaw card, Pocket Hero trading card, and as you flip it around to see the Pocket Hero logo on the back, you also see on the bottom trademark Cogsprocket Emporium.
Oh my gosh.
Right, it's all coming together.
He's gonna like kind of flip it over in his hand a minute and then just kind of like hold it out really close to Fenkin, like
Look.
Fenkin will like flinch a little bit. He's like, and then he'll look at it, look at the card, look at it, and then go, oh.
Immediately upon seeing you hold out the card, Dhuur'hin, Betty Boris, his eyes kind of widen, and where he was focused on Fenkin at first, maybe out of some kind of like professional career interest, they immediately shoot to you, and he's like, "Ah, so you're a collector, are ya?"
no.
Well, either way, you should consider yourself very lucky. That's the rarest of the bunch. Yeah, and he points at the gold rarity Strongjaw.
You can see Nox's ears. You can see Nox's ears prick up at the mention of the rarest of the bunch, and suddenly, where she was looking at him slightly distastefully, she's now very interested.
You know, at first I was making those for my grandson. He's a big fan of storybooks and legends and heroes of old, you know. But then it became something of a business venture after a few friends got a little interested, and, well, look at it now. Where did you find that card, good sir?
Been checking his notes.
You're going to have to repeat that, Dhuur'hin, because we did not hear it.
He kind of looked around a little bit and said, around.
Betty's going to kind of... Great! Anyway,
I know where he found it. He's not going to tell this guy.
Before we continue, did we just lose Sophie? Where the fuck did she go?
No, she left and muted, so...
She just leave?
What's going on, girl?
No, it's a toilet break.
Oh.
Okay.
I thought our barbarian was just like, fuck this.
You didn't even wait for Connor to say that he's gonna make a BM. Which you know what BM stands for?
Bowel movement.
Yes, I just figured that out. I didn't know what you were talking about, Connor. I was like, this is probably poop related, but I don't know what the B is.
Oh my god. Anyway.
Well, sorry that Dhuur'hin didn't want to tell this guy that he found the card on somebody's body.
Anyway, so
Fair.
Betty Boris, now a little put off by Dhuur'hin, kind of turns back to Fenkin and says, "Well then, I have strict orders from the Starosta to allow you on the wagon train, so I do apologize for the accommodations." And he kind of like nods his head towards Tilly, and he says, "But don't you worry, Tilly's a fine lass to spend your time around."
Fenkin doesn't really give him the time of day. He just kind of looks at him, looks at the caravan, and he says, "No matter."
And we will be having a few regiments of the Crown's Guard watching your back as well, so feel free to relax and take a load off. I assume you need it after everything you've done in the past few weeks.
How much have you heard about that?
Quite a bit, actually. I heard from good old Hill Shoulder down the road that you brought home some of his shiver stout. Personally, I don't drink any of the devil's nectar, but but you did keep. But you are a rather interesting business venture, if I may say. I will have some questions for you and Zadash when we get there, but for now, just take your time, relax as much as you want, and we'll be heading out and about. And he kind of like takes out a little pocket watch, flips it open. In about 5 minutes, and he slams it closed.
Business ventures, eh? All right. We'll be waiting to hear more from you then.
Excellent. I love to hear it. And he twirls his cane, takes a bow, turns around, and heads back. up to the front of the wagon train.
Fenkin sort of looks at the business card again, shrugs a little, and then pockets it.
All right. So after about 5 or so minutes, the wagon train gets moving, and as you guys kind of climb into the back cart, again, it's clearly a cart that's like meant to transport people back and forth, but it's kind of just been like repurposed as the cow cart. Some hay has been just tossed in, and it's about
the cow cart.
Yeah, it's about
the cow cart.
It's about knee deep for everybody. Unfortunately, chest deep for Ozla.
I was gonna say not for Oz.
But you are able to dig around and kind of find the wooden benches within the cart after a little bit. And Tilly, even though she's a big cow, doesn't take up too much space. It does get a little awkward when she kind of like lurches forward and like totally blocks off your view of each other every now and then. But just as Betty Morris said, there are 4 guards flanking every corner of the cart as you guys start moving. And as the car kind of lurches forward a bit, you begin to take off from Pride's Call towards the mountains towards the mountain on the same path that you did last time. And as you go, the wooden wheels, they clank against the cobblestone of the streets. And then you hear a voice kind of far off in the distance. You hear a wait! And as you look out towards the gate of Pride's Call, you see a dwarf with a tray of bread kind of like running towards the cart. And you recognize immediately Floyne Hillshoulder as his little legs kind of like pump towards the cart as quick as he can. And eventually he is able to catch up. He has to like maintain a jog. And he's holding out a tray of like what looks to be bread, kind of wrapped up in cheesecloth. And he's like, "Wait, I didn't get to say goodbye. Here, take this for rations on the way home."
An's gonna hang out as far as she can get, and just one hand like, "Come here!"
Something grabs a hold of her clothes so she won't fall off the wagon.
Can Nox
in her jacket trying to hold as much as she can?
Can Nox like pick her up by like the scruff and like hold her out, like dangling her completely off the cart and being like, "Here, grab it."
So what I'll say is Nox grabbed Ozla by the scruff and leaned out, but the weight became too much and he started to lurch forward. So Fenkin reached out and grabbed Nox by the leg. So, but that was
grab her by the tail. She'll love that.
That was enough reach, fortunately, for Ozla to grab hold of the tray. And as soon as you do, he kind of like pulls away and kind of like puffing and gasping. He's a heavier man, so jogging is a little bit difficult for him. But as soon as he gets his breath back, you see as his form grows smaller and smaller in the distance, he starts waving. "You're welcome back anytime. I'll miss you."
Fenkin sort of hauls them back into the cart with like his last strength and just like lays in the head.
Oz is bitten into one of the baguettes and she's waving with one of them like, "Bye!"
Fenkin, as you flop back into the cart, and you open your eyes back up, you see Tilly kind of staring down at you, just like.
Look up at her and be like.
Fenkin's just like, "You're the only one who understands me."
He likes animals a lot, so he'll lay there and be like, "Hey."
Okay. So
I was just gonna ask.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, does anyone want any bread?
Yes.
Yeah.
Toss some of that over to here.
All right. Here you go. She's just gonna.
Just like a football.
Yeah.
Can you make a strength check actually to see how far that goes? I'm curious.
Hit me in the head.
So the bread itself isn't exactly a baguette. It's more kind of like this fist-sized kind of roll. And Nox, you're taking a bite, right? Or you're just like saving it for later or whatever?
A bite, yeah.
Okay. It's filled with cheese. It's filled with
Oh.
like ooey gooey, stringy,
Oh.
delicious cheese. And
You see her like pupils blow open.
and the rest of you kind of see her pupils turn completely black, and you see kind of like something yellow in her mouth, and you immediately have flashbacks to the honey.
Think of the honey.
But
Can Fenkin reach out and try to smack it out of her hand?
No.
but the smell of molten cheese does permeate the air, and you guys seem to realize that. Fortunately, it's not honey, but it is definitely a delicious dwarven treat, known as gurok, which is basically like a dwarven bread the dough itself has been mixed with spices that activate once they've been baked in a brick fire oven, and it's just loaded up with cheese.
Ozla really regrets giving her another piece. She wants all of it. As soon as she bites into it. But she does she trots over to Fen and she just like waves and then tries and shoves it in his mouth, like from upwards, just like there you go.
Okay, so he like he gets it shoved into his mouth. I'm gonna imagine he gets it shoved into his mouth, and I can imagine that perhaps Tilly is looking with interest, so he quickly rolls up from wherever he is to get away from her reach.
And she turns around to the others and like she's got like her jacket open. There's just like the bats in there. She's like, does anyone else want some?
There's only one left. He didn't give us very much.
She's gonna toss it to Dhuur'hin. See if he catches it.
Okay, so I forgot to mention this, but the trip itself to Zadash, normally it takes about 15 days the normal route, but now with the availability of the mountain pass, it's only going to be about 3 days, 3 days travel. So right now, is there anything you guys want to do in the cart as you're kind of on this first day of travel?
Okay.
Yay! Nox is definitely going, as soon as she is done recovering from the cheese happiness, she's gonna scoot over to Dhuur'hin and like kind of nudge him with her foot a few times, like in the leg, just like push him, and then be like, "So, you have a rare card, I heard." She's
Kinda
very
like
interested.
Underneath his cloak, he puts his hand on top of his satchel.
Happen to understand what the image on the card is of. He said that they were based off of stories and great figures. What is it?
Okay, quick clarifying question. Does Nox not actually know who Grog Strongjaw is, or and she's just asking?
No, if she probably hasn't seen the card.
Okay.
So
right.
I don't know yet if she would or not. I can make a check for that, but
Okay.
she doesn't know what's on it. I assume because she probably hasn't seen it.
Well, we'll see what Dhuur'hin does first. Sorry, I shouldn't interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Yeah, you're fine.
He'll kind of stare at her for a second, considering several things in his brain. And then he'll get in his satchel and pull the card out and look at it, realize it's not really of any value to him. He's not very monetarily driven, and he'll hand it to her and say, "Keep it."
She will snatch it because she is excited. Yeah, I don't think she's seen the card before, so...
No, he took that shit and pocketed it real quick.
He hit it immediately.
Okay, now that I'm gonna go ahead and say, because like the name is right there too, go ahead and make a history check with advantage.
I think I can use a +1 on my history now because I'm Jack of all trades.
And just as a reminder, the card itself, it's a portrait, basically a miniature portrait of a huge Goliath half giant wielding a massive double-headed axe with a kind of like a bushy black beard and kind of like a very heroic smile. And on the bottom, there's kind of like emblazoned on like a stylized scroll the name Grog Strongjaw.
Okay, I still didn't do great. I got a 13.
Okay. Fortunately, that is enough. You have definitely heard the name Grog Strongjaw. You know that you don't know too much about him, but you do know that he once traveled with a group known as Vox Machina, and that they were very detrimental to the. They were not detrimental. They were very important to the shaping of Exandria's history. You know that in the I can't fucking talk. You know, in a continent further away, that they were responsible for taking on a group of dragons known as the Chroma Conclave, who are a threat to the royal families there. And you also know him as a slayer of a great warrior named Kevdak, who once held an entire city hostage. So this is a hero of very substantial status.
Okay. Yeah, she definitely recognizes that as soon as she reads the name, and she kind of like holds the card. She's clearly like, you can tell that there's a part of her that is interested in the fact that it's glittery. It's because she's kind of like rubbing her thumb over like the glittery, like, I assume it's like the I don't know, you would call it like the background. I'm picturing like a holographic Charizard.
I'm just going to go ahead and say this right now. You've essentially got, like, the holographic first edition Charizard of this world.
Fuck yeah, that's worth, like, $20,000. It's a great pull.
By the way, is Nox wearing her new necklace now?
No, she put it back in her pocket.
Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah, she's yeah, she's looking at it. She's kind of in awe of the prettiness of it and the fact that the short man said that it was rare. She likes that a lot. Are gnomes smaller than dwarves in this universe?
Yes. Gnomes are much smaller than dwarves.
Teeny tiny.
Halflings and dwarves, they kind of like they average about 4 feet, 3.5 feet. Gnomes usually 2 to 3 feet.
Oh, little. Yeah, so she just kind of looks at it. She like turns it over a couple of times, and then she slides it into her satchel, and she says, "I will be keeping this in very good condition. Thank you."
He'll stare at her for a second and then say, "Let me see what you took."
Ooh.
Fine. She'll kind of like begrudgingly pull out her necklace and say, "Be careful with this. I worked very hard to steal it," and then gives it to him.
So kind of just hold it in his hand, let the chain drape, and kind of look at it. Is it magical?
Do you want to make an Arcana check?
Yes. So that's a 5.
It's a very nice rock. It's a very nice rock on the end.
Try again later. So he'll look at it for a second, and then hand it back to her.
She takes it, and she seemed very she was just like watching him with narrowed eyes, making sure that he didn't break it or anything, and she'll just kind of like carefully like fold up the chain and put it back in her pocket.
Okay, so she's not wearing it, she's just got it in her pocket.
No, she's not wearing it.
Okay,
no.
Cool. Alright. Okay.
Can I just pitch in with something?
What's that?
Can I pitch in with some roleplay?
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely. This is the time for it.
So Fenkin would sort of observe and listen into the conversation and then remember that he also has pocketed some sort of card. but he doesn't know if it has anything to do with it, so he just sort of pulls it out and looks at it for a second to sort of compare to what he has seen and heard about that day.
Remind me which card you got. You wrote it down.
He has a Chimera card, Silver Rarity.
Yeah, okay. So, your card. I'm sorry. What's your question again? I got so distracted.
He looks at it to see if it has anything to do with the other card, if it's like the same brand or if it's.
You can definitely tell that like it's of the same make and from the same brand. You flip around. You also see you see Cog Sprocket Emporium and all that, and it's the same design on the front. All the hero portraits, they kind of have like this nice oval border around each picture, but where the first one is Grog Strongjaw, a specific hero, this just seems to be like a monster card of sorts that just depicts a monster that people know of in general. That being the Chimera, which is a multi-headed beast of strange proportion.
Alright, so he just looks at it and then notices that it's the same brand, so he just kind of hums for himself, thinks, interesting, and then he sort of puts it back again before anyone else sees it.
Alright. Anybody else?
Dhuur'rin's gonna break off a piece of the bread that Ozla gave him and hand it to Gesh.
Okay. So as you do this, it is full of cheese, so you kind of break it off.
I was gonna say it's very droopy.
Like, yeah.
Lady in the Tramp style.
I was gonna say, you guys know the pizza from the Goofy movie, like the incredibly stringy, long cheese.
Yeah.
It's exactly that consistency. It's exactly like that kind of pizza.
Hell yeah. That rules.
I love how everybody but Ethan is like delighted.
Yeah, I'm not seeing this Goofy movie thing. You people are talking.
Speaking of, what is Gesh doing?
Well, I don't know.
Is he lactose intolerant? Because that would be very funny.
That'd be so funny. I thought that's what
If
we
he's just like, no.
I mean, that's not exactly something I've planned out at all. Yeah, so he just takes that bit of it and just sort of pockets it because he doesn't want it right now.
Bread in his pocket.
bread and melting hot cheese.
I love
That's
that.
not really a good idea, isn't it? Whatever. Anyway,
He can do it anyway.
You can say that it's like in his bag or something, or in his robes, if you want.
That's very funny. I really like the idea of him just like folding up the cheese and being like,
Dhuur'rin just kind of stared at him like,
How?
Gesh is the best thing ever.
Gesh saved his fucking life, okay? He wants to be nice to this guy. He's trying to find his solace in the people around him.
So, a few hours pass in the day. Oh, I'm sorry, Ethan. Were you trying to say something?
yeah. Yeah, after the debacle with the cheese bread thing, he sort of settles in, takes out his flute, and begins to play.
Very nice. Very nice. So you guys watch as this very big Dragonborn takes out a comparatively delicate-looking instrument and begins to play it. And Ethan, do you want to make me a performance check real quick?
please, natural to go wrong.
Natural one, please.
That one, he breaks it on accident.
He blows to on it.
I mean,
So yeah.
you're proficient with it, right?
What?
You're proficient with it, your flute, right?
I mean, I guess.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, since
I don't know.
yeah, just go. Ignore me. Just go ahead and make your roll.
Okay.
I'm sure this will pair nicely with the discordant clay flutes Dhuur'in hears constantly.
And also the shuffling of a literal cow in their car.
Two-stepping.
Yeah, that'd be a 13.
That's still good. That's still really good.
It's a mighty good performance.
You're not exactly like piecing together an ancient puzzle here. You're playing the fucking flute. But you guys listen as a very nice, delicate song begins to come from Gesh's flute. And Dhuur'in, you might immediately be on edge because like you hear the only time you hear flutes is in your dreams. But where those are discordant and like screechy, this is actually quite nice, quite enjoyable. So eventually you do kind of like ease into it and maybe even start to bob along to it. And it's just a nice way to pass the time. And as the minutes turn to hours, after about like 5 or so hours have passed, Fenkin, what's your passive perception again?
Hold on.
In fact, what's everybody's passive perception? Would you let me know?
12.
15.
14.
12.
Hang on, I gotta get up.
12. Yeah.
Give me. How are you finding that?
If you didn't write it down earlier, it's 10 plus whatever your perception modifier is.
Oh, okay. 12.
Okay, I'm glad I asked that because it's actually Nox who hears it. So, Nox, as the cart's pulling along into the wilderness that kind of borders Pride's Call and the Sirios mountain bases, with the foliage kind of like hanging overhead and the trees and all that, you kind of hear a rustling off to the side of the cart, and as you look over, I'm assuming you look at it or whatever it is. Okay. As you look over, you kind of see the two Crownsguard on either end of the cart, but keeping pace with the cart right between the two of them is a little gray shape. And as you look closer, you immediately recognize a fat raccoon.
Oh. It's immediately like, do you know in anime when two like nemesis are about to face off with each other and there's like a zoom in on their eyes? It's that immediately with her. And then it's like, oh, and then like the raccoon is like, ah. She's just like making very suspicious eye contact with this animal that's been haranguing them for weeks.
So whereas you look at the raccoon with like disdain and a form of like discomfort or whatever, what's the word? You just said it. What's the word? Mistrust. It looks at you kind of lazily, just like, you know, kind of how a surfer would look at somebody, just like, and as soon as it sees you, it kind of like keeps up its pace a little bit, but also seems to try to like hop and scrabble up the side of the wagon. And you see little black raccoon hands kind of like scratching at the wagon, and the guard behind you who's watching this is just kind of like looking at the raccoon, then looking at you, then looking at the raccoon, and while walking along with his spear, he's like, "Is that yours?"
She just kind of gives him a look like.
So you guys at this point you hear the guard and Nox talking about something, and you also hear a scratching at the side of the wagon. Does anybody want to check it out?
Yeah, Dhuur'in will look over the side.
So Dhuur'in, as you look over the side, the raccoon seems to get more and more excited. You hear kind of like a and it's trying even harder to like get up onto the wagon, and eventually like its little nails finally sink into the wood, and it kind of like starts to like haul its fat little body up as much as it can until like its little arms are like over the side, and it's kind of like scrabbling to get in.
He'll grab it by its scruff and put it next to him.
Nox just looks mildly disgusted.
Okay. So
he's thinking dinner.
No.
So as you pick up that raccoon, you know how puppies have like a lot of loose skin that you can that's kind of like the case with this raccoon, and you pick it up and it's a lot heavier than a raccoon should be. But again, this is a very fat raccoon.
Fat raccoon.
And you all watch as the warlock who blew up a guy's head not 2 weeks ago slowly puts this raccoon down right next to him, and the raccoon kind of sits like Avery's cat Yuki, like kind of like a person almost.
Just kind of
like staring around at everybody with like,
Yeah, like, what's up?
And he kind of like looks around at everybody with like little yellow drunken eyes. He seems very docile for a raccoon.
Nox is just like, is that a lost friend of yours?
He's looking down at the raccoon, and he looks up at Nox and says, "This will feed for 3 days."
Oh.
She gets this just like very grossed out look on her face and is like, yeah.
The presence of the raccoon, the cow Tilly has very clearly noticed the presence of the raccoon, and at first there's kind of like this indifferent but after like 5 minutes of the raccoon not really doing anything save for like maybe hopping down into the hay and kind of like mulling about the cart, Tilly's fine with it.
We're friends.
I would like Fenkin to notice the raccoon, look at the raccoon, and then look at Dhuur'hin as if he has offended his ancestors. Like, we are not eating the raccoon. Threateningly.
Why?
Fenkin is baffled. Like, he doesn't have a solid good answer that he believes will satisfy Dhuur'hin's question. So he sits there, looks at him, and he says, "We are not eating the raccoon."
Looks at the raccoon, looks at Fenkin, looks at the raccoon, looks at Fenkin. A very long look at Fenkin and remains silent.
Fenkin looks very uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable under Dhuur'hin's gaze. Sort of not so sure of himself anymore, sort of scoots back a bit and then says, "Whatever."
So after this conversation, the raccoon, who had been like kind of scrabbling around, makes its way over to Ozla and kind of like looks up at Ozla. And Ozla, as you look down at it, you see like 2 little hands come up in kind of like a pick me up motion.
High five. She's like laying back in their hay, like still listening to Gesh's flute, and she looks up and she's like, "Oh, cool!" And she high fives one of the little paws, and then and then picks up like a little baby, like, "Look at you!" And she turns it around. She's like, "Guys, look, we got a pet."
It's nearly the size of you. It's nearly the size of you.
Nox is so upset. She's like, if I find a single flea on me because of that creature, I am leaving all of you in a ditch.
Also,
hold it close, like, how dare you?
for everybody who's already touched the raccoon, who I believe that would be just Dhuur'hin and Ozla. The fur.
Oh no.
You know how like when you pet an animal that's been outside a long time, the fur feels kind of like grimy and weird, and your hand comes away and it's got like kind of a weird feeling on your fingers. You're not really getting that. In fact, like the fur feels like almost well groomed and really soft and kind of nice and weirdly clean. But other than that, it's a raccoon.
A very clean raccoon.
I would like Fenkin to look at Ozla and go, "You have to take care of it if you want to keep it." You have to feed
Dhuur'rin
it.
looks very saddened that his dinner has just been taken away from him.
She's bonded. She holds it close and she's just like, "Do you want to pet him? Do you want to pet him?" Like at Fen and Dhuur'in.
Fenkin actually reaches out and sort of tries to stroke along the fur of its back, if it allows him to.
I don't know if raccoons purr, but you hear, I guess, the raccoon equivalent of purring, which I guess would be like.
Fenkin looks oddly. His features are oddly soft for what he would usually look like. Like all of his really sharp, grumpy features is sort of soft, and he just keeps stroking it like he's at peace. He's just like enjoying himself.
As you like pet down further to the base of the spine, you know how like you get, I guess, like you hit like a sweet spot in between the spine and the tail, because like the face goes from content to like, oh. Like you
Fenkin
see
just
the
starts
whites
scratching his butt like.
you see like
That's a
the
good
whites of
boy.
the raccoon's eyes kind of like at the corner of its eyes as it goes totally cross-eyed and like limp in Ozla's arms.
I'm imagining the fucking the raccoon from Pocahontas.
Yes! Nico!
Fenkin is very satisfied at his response and just sort of keeps scratching that spot as he looks very content with his new friend.
So, yeah, you guys have a raccoon now.
Can I have Oz look at
Well,
the
we
thing
could have
about-
had dinner for 3 days.
Fenkin's so familiar.
What were you saying, Sophie?
Can I have Ozla turn to the group and be like, "Guys, what should we name it? What should we name it? I want name ideas."
Nox is just sitting there. She as soon as like Fenkin started petting it, she started like very pointedly bathing herself, like in disgust. And so she's like sitting there just like licking her arm, and she just like pauses for a second and looks at Ozla and says, "Fleabag," and then goes back to bathing herself.
You don't get a vote. Ozla just like sits there for a minute and then she goes, "I think I'm gonna call him Prince." And she just
You're gonna call it what?
she's
You
like,
cut out at the last minute there.
"Princess."
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Ozla, would you please add to your inventory Princess the Raccoon?
Princess to your inventory.
He's getting in my bag!
He's gonna eat everything in there.
Oh, we can have it all. Tight, please.
I was so expecting to Dhuur'in to immediately like Eldritch blast it off the side of the wagon.
I mean, it was either going to be that or pick it up and snap its neck.
That's the dark timeline. Anyway,
I'm so glad I said
Dinner!
so
He wanted to keep it fresh.
So, as the wagon train moves into the Sirios Mountains, you notice that the snow, with the coming change in the weather, has begun to melt. And while it is still a little chilly and cold, you know, the snow has been melted away to reveal the rockier outcroppings of the mountains, as well as the as well as the green moss and greenery that kind of rests under the snow during the winter and all that. It's kind of got that like nice earthy smell of like, it just rained and now the soil is all nice. Yeah, M knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't.
But
I don't have a sense of smell.
No, they have Dhuur'rin's cave on their way.
I'm just role playing, like.
but as the hours turn into days, slowly the sun does begin to set, and the caravan master, as you will remember, one Betty Voris von Patty Cogsprocket. I'm not going to have that name memorized, even though I wrote it. He calls for the wagon train to stop and to come into like a circle so that camp can be set up for the night. And it's kind of like expected that everybody has their own like camping situations. Like the Crown's Guard, they're kind of setting up military tents and all that. There are a few members of the Righteous Brand there who are the Righteous Band, who are the basically like the military of the Dwendalian Empire, and they are also kind of serving as guards. The nobles are keeping to their fancier wagons and all that. What are you guys doing? What's your plan?
Well, we've got the mini tent that turns into a mega tent. So, I mean, how shouldn't we?
But Nox is holding the box.
Nox has it. She does.
Yeah.
I'm so
She
proud
will.
of you.
Excuse me. Sorry. I got so excited I choked on my spit. Okay. She, as soon as people start setting up tent, she's like, remember what I have, guys? And she's like super excited to bring this little thing out and try it. Oh my god, I almost killed myself. Okay. Yeah, so as soon as like people are splitting off to set up, she like turns to the rest of them with this like wicked smile and she's like, shall we set up camp too?
Ozla has the raccoon on her head. She's like, yeah.
Her face falls a little bit just for a second and she's like, that thing is staying away from me, but okay.
No! Princess gets cold too.
She will open up the case and take out the little tent figure, and she kind of looks at it for a second and she's like, how did this work again? And she's like tapping it. Does anybody remember how this works?
You throw it really hard.
Really hard.
Yeah.
Okay. And she just chucks it at the ground.
Okay, so as you throw it at the ground, in a puff of smoke, the model turns from a little wooden model of a tent to a full-sized A-frame tent that, again, only looks like it's going to fit one person and not even that well. And inside the box, you still have the 4 stakes.
Oh yeah, she takes out one of the stakes and then she kind of looks at it for a second. She's like, and this goes in the corner, right?
Yes. I don't know anything about him.
She'll just kind of like tentatively put it down in the corner and then just like bang it with her fist a couple of times to drive it in.
Okay, are you putting the rest of the stakes in too? Okay.
Yeah.
So as you're kind of setting up this very small tent, there are kind of like a couple Crown's Guard who are walking by with like some bundles of firewood, and they look at like your whole group setting up this little tent, and they kind of like chuckle to one another and kind of start walking away.
Yeah, fair enough. Max kind of looks at them and she's like, just kind of gives them a wave.
He glares at them as they pass by them.
So are you all going into the tent?
Can it only fit
Says,
one
yeah.
person?
Oh no, it can fit. Remember, it's really big on the inside, so it can fit all of them.
Oh yeah. I forgot.
Actually, if you want to read the card that I sent you for pop-up tent, you can go ahead and read that.
Yes! Hold on. I gotta get to it.
Oh.
Eep, up, oop, up, eep, up, eep, oop. Pop-up tent, wondrous item, rare. This object appears to be a small mahogany box. Oh, it's mahogany. It's made for Vinn. A small mahogany box with a brass latch, roughly the size of an adult person's palm. Inside the box appears to be a miniature replica of a tent, as well as 4 wooden stakes, which are the normal size. Speaking the command word, which I assume is tent, and tossing the tent replica on the ground causes it to magically grow into a full-size A-frame tent, which looks small enough to fit 1 person. However, when all 4 stakes are hammered into the corner of the tent, the interior of the tent becomes a large space that can fit up to 5 to 6 people comfortably. It has about 6 low cots, complete with soft pillows, furs, an eating table, woolen blankets. The magical effect of the tent will remain active until one of the stakes is pulled out. Actually, I have a picture of what it looks like on the inside. I'll send that too.
Oh, you're putting that in general?
Yeah, if I can copy the image. Yay, I did it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And I will click away from the video call so our viewers at home can see what it looks like.
Yeah, all of our fans, all of them.
All 2
I accidentally copied Betty Boris von Patty Codsprocket. Hold on.
All 2 of our my mom and my dad, and that's it.
And some of my coworkers.
Oh yeah.
Wait, I need to do this the long
Such a
way.
wide and varied viewer base here.
Why is it taking you so long to copy and paste?
It is very difficult to save this fucking image on my laptop right now.
Oh my god, it's like
my laptop is really suffering.
It's like teaching my grandma how to use the iPad. Jesus Christ.
Very aware of how to save an image, Connor.
Rude. So rude.
I just can't do it because my computer is running like shit right now.
Well, anyway.
Why don't you send it? Because you're the one who sent it to me, so
no,
you can put it in.
So as you guys enter the tent, it's it's very stark contrast from being outside at night to inside this tent. It's lit with a very orange warm glow inside, and again like Sophie said last time, it's kind of like the charmed tents from Harry Potter. Inside, it's about a 80 by 80 room thereabouts, maybe 60 by 80, and it's a nice large space with a little table in the middle, kind of like a little coffee table, plenty of cushions and things to sleep on, a couple couches and all that. It's very nice inside, and the same 2 Crownsguard watch as Nox goes in. And then Gesh goes in, and as they're watching, their chuckles kind of die away, and they look very confused as everybody disappears into this tiny A-frame tent. Eventually, with the raccoon following up behind, who just kind of gives them a little, and then goes inside.
It's like a clown car.
Yeah, that's the general energy, and it's not super heated inside or anything like that. It's not, but it is nice and warm on the inside. And this is what it looks like to the people watching on the inside.
Complete with my swearing because of how shitty my computer is.
Yes, that's not how you spell GIF, by the way. Anyway,
yeah, I didn't save it like that.
But are you guys bedding down for the night?
Yeah.
There's not much else to do, is there? So, yeah.
Dhuur'hin will take off his cloak and use it as a blanket.
Okay. So as you guys
They're
enter,
surrounded by blankets, Dhuur'hin.
So,
He wants to use his own. He's not used to this lavishness.
So as you guys enter into the tent for the first time, you kind of step into you step into this, basically this tent that should not be, that's bigger on the inside, and it's just kind of it's not super luxurious, it's kind of like the inside of a yurt, but it is very nice, and you kind of walk in kind of with a shared feeling of oh shit, this is way better than sleeping outside.
Fenkin would look around and be like, wow, in awe over how pretty it is, and then find a little corner to cuddle up in.
All right. Well, there's plenty of corners to huddle up in, and plenty of pillows and blankets to go around. Princess does find them himself. Hang on. finds himself
You
a little space.
Rolling gender, same.
Princess finds himself a little place near Ozla, a little pillow that he snuggles into and kind of curls up like a cat.
Oh, my baby. Ozla is specifically going to choose to lie down right next to Fenn because she knows having the raccoon near him is going to piss him off.
Okay. So as you guys are,
she comes up really close, like, hi.
so as you guys are kind of like setting up for the night, there is kind of like, knock on a tent. I guess like kind of like a batting at the tent door.
Mhm.
Is somebody gonna get that?
Not knocks.
I'm too tired.
Dhuur'rin will rasp out a really loud "What?"
An older man's voice kind of comes through the front. Can I come in?
Why?
There's kind of like a pause, and he's like, I mean, I can come back later, but I got refreshments.
Fenkin gets up and Fenkin gets up reluctantly, like pushes Ozla aside, rolls over a little bit, and then goes up to like jank the tent open and sort of crawl out and look up at him.
Before you, standing kind of like a middle-aged man in a Crown's Guard uniform, and he's holding a tray of what looks like wooden cups of drinks and things, and there's kind of, some slices of meat, and he's like, General's orders. Mind if I come in?
He looks at him for a long time, eyes him up and down, and then it's like, fine. And then he disappears back into the tent.
Okay, so
The cloak's coming back on real quick. He's like real fast throwing it back on.
No.
So you all watch as the tent door opens and this Crown's Guard comes in with his tray, and he peeks in, and then he like starts kind of wide-eyed, starts looking around. He's like, "All right, so I've got what the fucking hell?"
Fenkin is very amused. He's just standing to the side like.
And he gets in, he kind of stoops in and stands up, and he's like, "How the fuck is what?"
No.
He's
Poor
like,
guy.
yeah, it's fake. Just put it down over there.
He kind of snaps out of it, and he's like, "Oh, well, yeah, sorry." And he sets the drinks down and picks up two of them, hands one, takes one over to Gesh, hands it to him, and as he's doing that, he's like, "Oh, this is just something me and the boys put together for you. We really do appreciate all the help that you gave down at Pride's Call." And he hands a drink to Ozla as well. And Ozla, you immediately recognize the liquid inside as Shimmer Stout. You as you peer inside, you see the dark purplish liquid and the floating flecks of gold that make it look like you're staring down at a galaxy, staring down at the cosmos of the stars.
Oh god. She sort of looks into it and she goes, Is this what I think it is?
And the guy nods and he's like, "Yeah, the captain wanted us to share some of it with you. It said you were a big fan."
Before I can finish a sentence, she's immediately just like, I actually drank some. And she's just knocking it back, not even trying to taste it. And she's just like, she's so happy.
All right, Dhuur'hin, give me a perception check.
No! Oh, I'm dead.
19.
Okay.
Ooh.
So, as you watch this guard hand off the drink to a very excited Ozla, and you watch her knock it back, No pun intended, Knox. You watch as a gloved hand slowly drifts down to his belt, and very slowly a dagger comes sliding out of his tabard.
He'll just kind of point at this man and say, "Stop what you're doing."
So I was just gonna point silently and like wait for someone to notice.
Stop what you're doing.
So you watch as like the hand freezes, and very slowly he turns to look over his shoulder, and where there was once like a jovial, very confused face, there's now a very like evil looking sneer, and he looks directly at you, Dhuur'hin, and he says, "For the false serpent." And the knife comes out in his hand, and he immediately plunges it into Ozla's neck.
Oh, lovely.
She's dead.
Wow.
Ozla, can you make me a Constitution saving throw real quick?
Oh god, please,
Actually,
please,
no.
please.
You know what? Go ahead and make me a Dexterity saving throw.
Oh god, hang on. Okay, dexterity. Wait, hang on.
Tent party.
Fucking do it! Stop falling! 5, with +2, 7.
Okay, so
Oh.
unfortunately, fortunately, hearing Dhuur'hin's words, you're able to see the knife. You're able to look up from your glass just in time for the knife to come down. And while you do try to like react and get away, you do feel it slice across like the neck right here. Not deep enough to like cause any like, instant death or anything like that, but blood does begin to trickle from this part of the neck, and you feel yourself falling back. And as you do, you feel cold. You feel cold all over your body except for this one spot where it's burning like acid. And as you try to like reach up and touch it, you realize your arms and legs are not moving. Your bones have locked into place. And slowly, as you kind of like try to look over at the spilled glass of Shimmer Stout, you realize in that moment that you've been poisoned.
Everyone roll initiative.
Oh my god. Wait, do I? No, I don't have I thought I had what's it called? Protection against poison. I thought I had that.
What?
Do you have poison resistance?
I don't know.
I don't think
Maybe
you
I've
do.
made that up. I think I probably made that up, to be honest.
Dwarves have resistance against poison. You're not a dwarf, unfortunately.
No, I'm not a dwarf. Okay, I think I read the wrong thing.
No.
Anyway, you all watch as this dagger suddenly slices across Ozla's neck in a flash of movement. And as this happens and Ozla falls down, you hear Princess hiss, and suddenly this raccoon is leaping through the air and latches onto the guy's face. And you hear a very muffled like, "What the fuck?" And he drops the
My
drops the
baby.
knife.
Can I pick up the knife?
Sure. Sure, go ahead and pick up you pick up the knife. What does everybody else do?
I yoinked it.
I yoinked it.
Can I stab him with it?
Make an attack roll.
Would that be plus my strength or plus my dex?
That dagger, so dexterity.
Double check my dex. $15.
Okay, that does not hit, unfortunately. As as the guards kind of like flailing around trying to get Princess off his face. Princess all the while kind of like hissing and gnashing and like clawing and beating the top of his head with his little fists. You do try to reach out and like get a good backstab going, but he like dances away just in the nick of time. Not even like trying to get away from the knife because he doesn't realize you have it, but more of like, just bad timing on your part as the knife swings out and you miss.
Rip.
Well, fuck.
Question.
Anybody else gonna help?
Yeah. Thank you.
We're just watching her die.
When it comes to poison, is the only thing that can heal an antidote, or can like healing spells and things like that help?
It depends on the type of poison. All you know is that for some reason the knife nicked her and now she's not moving.
Okay.
Fair. Nox started getting up as soon as she heard Dhuur'hin. Partially, like not even before she knew what he said, but she was like, "If Dhuur'hin is speaking, something is wrong." So she was up. She probably had to take a second to like find her bow because I assume it was not near her since she was ready for bed. But she has, I assume by now she's probably managed to get her hands on it. So she's definitely got her bow, and she is just like, she's not even gonna like say anything. She's just gonna fucking aim and try to shoot this dancing dude.
Okay, make an attack roll. Better hope you don't hit Princess.
You know what? I'll take it.
No! Dinner!
No.
That is my child.
Well, that's a 23.
Okay, that's definitely going to hit Princess. No, I'm kidding. That is, however, going to hit the assailant. Where the dagger missed, your arrow strikes. He turns just in time for like the arrow to plunge into between his shoulder blades, and you see him stiffen up as Princess finally kind of like loses his grip and kind of like tumbles away onto the ground with kind of like a. And,
do you want me to roll damage or?
Yes, roll me some damage.
Oh, okay. 1d6 plus 3. That's a 9, baby.
Okay, so you watch as he kind of like falls to the ground on his hands and knees, kind of trembling. Clearly not dead yet, but like you hear him cough, and Dhuur'hin, as he coughs, you see blood kind of like splatter onto the ground.
Lovely. Can I kind of put the dagger against like the side of his neck, not really hitting Princess? But I want it to be
Princess has fallen away. Princess has fallen away.
Okay. Then I want to put the dagger up against his throat and say, "Who is this serpent?"
So, unfortunately, he is like so weak that even as you like press up against him just a little bit, he kind of like crumples down onto his back, and you hear like the snap of the arrow as he hits the ground, and you kind of hear a grunt as maybe like the arrowhead gets driven a little further into his body. And you watch as blood trickles down his mouth, but he seems to be smiling even as you have this knife pressed up against his throat. And he says to you in a gurgled, whispered voice, "The marked ones cannot flee forever." The serpent will have his feast. He will not be denied, and he will not be made to wait. The price will be paid. The Great One's eyes are upon thee, Highhill. He awaits you, down in the depths of the abyss, and I go to him gladly. And with that last word, you hear his jaw close, and you hear a crunching sound, and almost as soon as you hear this crunching sound, he starts to like shiver and shake, and you see foam start to like appear in the corners of his mouth as his trembling becomes worse and worse until eventually he stops and goes completely limp in your arms.
Fenkin is furious. He is extremely furious, and while this is all going on, he rushes to Ozla's side. To sort of like pick her up and hold her.
Is she able to speak, or is she just like gargling?
You can speak. You know how like after you go to the dentist and they give you some of that like laughing gas and you've got kind of like that puffy feeling in your cheeks. You can talk, but it's kind of like that situation.
Okay, so obviously she can't move, but she is gritting her teeth and she's pissed off to high hell. And she's like, "Who the fuck was that?" She's like, "It's like, I'll fucking kill him."
As this is, we lost Vinn. Hang on. There we go. As this is happening, Princess like scampers over to the dead guard, and with a growl, latches onto his neck and just starts like shaking, just like.
He bats away at the raccoon, saying, "It is dead. It is dead." Can I frisk his body for any more poison?
Poison.
Sure. Your friend's just been poisoned, but yeah, feel free to like loot the corpse if you want.
Hey, she's being taken care of. I want whatever this guy has on his body.
You can identify. Yeah, maybe you can find some. That's helpful.
Okay, so first and foremost, Dhuur'hin, the knife that you're holding in your hands, it's you know those swords, the Zweihanders that are like wavy and curvy? That's like pretty much the exact shape of this dagger, and the base of which where the handguard would normally be, there's a big yellow emblazoned eye made of glass, and it's got like a red leather kind of hilt. It's a very finely made blade, and you can, as you run your hand across it, you can tell that the blade itself feels very greasy to the touch, and with a quick sniff, you can tell, yeah, this is definitely poison. And for anybody, so yeah, go ahead and add the Ukatoan dagger to your inventory.
Ooh.
And that's going to be, it's a special dagger that does 1d4 plus 2 poison damage. And Nox, you said you're searching the body, right?
That is, I think, right?
Yeah, I am. I'm frisking the body.
Okay, Dhuur'hin. So as you continue to frisk the body, you eventually get to the point where like you really only find like basic Crown's Guard stuff. You find like the hilt to the dagger, which you also pocket. You find like a Crown's Guard sword and all that. But as you dig deeper and eventually like get his chest plate off, the chainmail, you see that there's a fleshy pocket on his chest, as if like part of the skin had been like surgically opened up to make this little pocket. And as you reach into that, you pull out what appears to be a little black note. All right. And
What did it say?
I am going to send you what it says right now.
Disgusting.
Just 1 second. So you can read it out loud if you wish. And if you don't want to do it in Dhuur'hin's voice so everybody can understand it, that's fine. But you also have that invocation that lets you read other languages. So yeah, it was originally in common, but as you watch it and as your eyes glow green, you see the letters themselves kind of coalesce into something that you can read. And it reads,
Brother Shamahat, seek the marked one known as Ozla Highhill and reap her flesh in the name of the great drowned one. Await her arrival within Pride's call and strike only when the opportunity presents itself. Let her not escape and send her soul to the great drowned one's feasting pools. When your task is complete, you may end your charade within the Crown's Guard and return once more to your brothers and sisters in the maw. Glory to you, brother. Glory to the great drowned one. Hasha soka tkak yog noka. Ukauta Grand Eye Valnorge.
Great.
Of course, he read this in his very scary, garbled voice to them.
Fenkin, do you want to make a medicine or a nature check really quick? Either one will work.
Which one did you say?
Do you want to make either a nature or a medicine check? Either one will work.
Okay. D20, right?
D20, yeah.
Okay. 15.
15. Okay. So as you're kind of like looking Ozla over, trying to figure out what the poison is, you look over at her spilled shimmer stout cup, and you pick it up and you give it a quick sniff, and you're immediately able to recognize a kind of blend of herbs and different plants and different roots, basically, that make a paralysis poison. And so you know right off the bat that she's not in any immediate danger, nor is the poison going to like really do any more damage than it already has, but you do know that she is paralyzed and that it's going to wear off within like a couple hours or so. Clearly this was like a case of, him wanting her paralyzed before he made a move.
Alright, so he does so while he holds her in his arms, completely furious, to the point where his jaw is just clenched. He picks up the cup and he looks at the liquid, swirls it around, and takes a whiff. Thinks for a moment, and then exhales in relief, before sort of looking at her as well as speaking loudly to the others and says, "She's paralyzed, but not in any mortal danger, luckily. It seems he only wanted to lower her guard and make her unable to fight back."
Kick her out,
I wanted to paralyzed.
So as Ozla, as you kind of like spittle in rage, Princess kind of like scampers up and like kind of watching what Fenkin is doing, takes two little black paws and like puts them on your forehead and just kind of like drums a little bit.
Healing.
Just like slaps up.
Can I drag this dead body out of our fucking tent and like wave over a crown's guard? A real crown's guard?
Trust nobody.
So you watch as Dhuur'in drags the body out of the tent, leaving like a red smear across the carpet of this very nice tent that you have. And Dhuur'in, as you step out from the warmth of the tent into like the cold of the night air, the body kind of like drags along with you. And the two Crownsguard who were kind of like chuckling at you at first, they're sitting on a log kind of like frying up a fish. And one of them looks up, looks back down, then like looks back up at you again. And he immediately stands up with his hand on his sword like, "Oi, what the fuck?"
He's gonna like shoot his very terrifying gaze to this Crown's Guard as he's still got this guy by his wrist and say, "This man tried to kill my friend."
I was just gonna say he used the F word.
Y'all heard that from outside the tent. He's pissed.
So immediately as you say that, you kind of like draw the attention of everybody else who's kind of like in this big like wagon camping circle, and you hear like some gasps. There's a woman screaming in the back somewhere, and immediately like there's a bunch of Crownsguard like jumping up trying to like get everything under control. But as this is happening, a Crownsguard in like a nicer uniform, I guess, with like better shoulder plates and all that, he runs over, and you can tell he's like an older gentleman, an older elf, very muscular, with kind of long ears that kind of point out like this a little bit. One is like a little torn, but other than that, he's very clearly an elf. And he makes his way over, and as he gets closer, you can see like the golden blonde of his goatee kind of like turns white a little bit right here, and you can tell there's some white up by his ears as well. And he wanders over and he's like, "All right, what's it? Holy fucking shit! What happened here?"
I want Fenkin to put Ozla down carefully in the tent and rush outside of the tent when he hears the voices and the commotion. And I want him to see immediately that this person, who terrifyingly enough is an elf, has a hierarchy, and I want him to rush up to him and grab a hold of his clothes, just completely furious, and yell at him, "What the fuck is going on here?"
So the guard almost looked like he was about to like draw on Dhuur'in, but but immediately there's this twink of an elf suddenly grabs him by the collar and pulls him down, and he's very like surprised by this, and he's just like, what?
Why did one of your guards hurt my friend?
What? And there's a moment's pause before he like looks at before he Vinn, who's that behind you?
Allie's here to make me pie.
Hi, Allie.
She said hi.
I'm fancy, yes.
You're on Dice Dogs, Allie. And there's a moment where he kind of like comes to his senses and grabs your wrist very tightly and like yanks you off his tabard, and he stands up and he kind of like shoves you aside to look over the body, and he pauses for a moment. He's like, I don't know who the fuck this is, and he kneels down and like grabs the corpse by its collar and hauls it up. And as he's doing this, he also takes the scalp and lifts it up so he can like look at the face. And he's like, "Oh, this isn't one of my men. Who the fuck is this?" And then he kind of like pauses, and then he looks up at Fenkin and he says, Wait, who's been hurt?"
He doesn't really answer him. He just he kind of almost fell over a bit, so he stands up a bit, brushes his clothes off, glares at him, and says, "Excuses. It doesn't matter if he was with you or not. He snuck past your ranks, and he attacked us. This is your fault."
Ooh, damn.
Jesus.
He's an angry. He's angry. He's so angry. He's so upset.
So as you like point at the captain and you get like a little closer, another Crown's guard kind of like comes around and grabs you by the shoulder and kind of like wrestles you back a bit. And eventually he lets the corpse fall and he stands up and he's like, "All right, no, it's all right. Calm down. Just tell me exactly what happened."
Fenkin is hyperventilating out of anger, and he is unable to explain the situation further. So it's better if someone else takes over because he's sort of wrestling this guard.
Can Nox like pop?
The only one out there.
I was gonna say, can Nox pop her head out of the tent and like just yell? Because I assume during this time she's been like she's just been like crouching by Ozla, like probably trying to see if she can do any. If she's not like gushing blood, then I assume there's probably not much that she can do.
She's a tough little halfling. The bleeding's probably stopped by now.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, Nox is probably gonna stick her head out of the tent and just yell like, "Will one of you get a medic in here?"
The captain, as soon as this cat head like pokes out of the tent, he's just like, "Ah,
what the fuck is that?
and eventually he is like, "Yeah, all right, just a moment." And within a few minutes, a medic does make his way over to Ozla and checks her over. And about an hour passes after all of this, and essentially what happens is that after kind of like interrogating everybody, sitting them down for questioning and asking what happened, they wrapped up the body and asked for any evidence that you might have had about this situation. Do you guys want to tell them what you heard, or?
Yeah, I'll pull the dagger out from my cloak.
Okay, so we'll say that they kind of like they're using the coffee table in the tent as kind of like a questioning table, and as you take out the dagger, there's the captain who's questioning you, and then like two guards on either side of him. One of them is taking notes. The other one with kind of like a cloth reaches out and takes the dagger and like wraps that up as well. And at this point, we'll say Ozla has kind of been like tended to and is like resting on a couch with
Propped up like a little doll.
Yeah, with Princess very worried, kind of like sleeping on her chest, curled up.
Oh.
And kind of like addressing all of you at once. The captain stands up and he's like, "All right, is there anything else we should know?"
Fenkin kind of sits with Oz, guarding her like a wild animal, not saying anything. He's still seething.
Nox, who I think he's probably just like sitting nearby, kind of chilling. She's like, "Well, he brought us a cup of poisoned liquor, so you may want to check your supplies."
Aye, we'll do that. And did he happen to say anything while this attack was going on?
She'll like gesture at Dhuur'hin and say, "Show him the thing, Dark One. Show him the thing."
The
Pulls
team.
out the gross note that he pulls out of this guy's skin pocket.
Out of his
and
flesh
over.
pocket.
The guy, totally unaware that it was inside a flesh pocket, takes the note and unwraps it, and he starts reading it. He's like,
Oh, Dhuur'hin had like no issue handling it at all. He was just holding it like a normal piece of paper.
the captain kind of reads it over for a second. He's like, "All right, okay. Do these boys mean anything to you? Mocked one, great drowned ones, anything?"
He kind of goes, "Oh," because he can't fucking read it. It is an
Shit.
assassination attempt
Oh,
by the great drowned one.
No, I got that. Does the great drown... What I'm asking is, are you fucking stupid?
Fenkin fucking growls from where he's sitting like an animal because he's not happy with this Crossguard chief or whatever he is.
He's just gonna stare at this guy. I'll be non-cooperative.
He kind of like folds up the note with a sigh and tucks it into his tabard, and he's like, "All right. Well, if it doesn't mean anything to you, we'll talk to the authorities in Zadash. But other than that, I do apologize for this. I didn't know we had dissension among our ranks. We'll have a talk with the rest of the boys. Good night." And he kind of bows, and the Crown's Guard make their way out of the tent.
Dhuur'hin scoffs.
Fenkin still glares out the opening of the tent from where they left. Just like...
There's just like a moment of silence. Nox is just like contemplative. And then she just she looks at Fenkin because I assume that Ozla is like, what is Ozla doing? Is she like up? Is she like sleeping?
Connor said the princess is laying on her, so I think she's like sort of laid next to Fen a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, next to the side, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's swearing, by the way.
Still looking mad. So Nox will kind of look at Fenkin and then at Oz and kind of eye both of them and say, "Who is the drowned one?"
Fenkin doesn't reply. He just completely ignores her as he looks down at Ozla and just like checking on her condition.
Did you say Ozla's awake?
Yes.
Okay, Ozla. You know the word Great Drowned One. You've heard it several times before. It's one of many titles given to a certain creature worshipped in the Menagerie Coast. He goes by many names. The False Serpent, the Twisting Eyes, the Endless Ouroboros, the Great Drowned One. but you know him better as Uk'otoa, the Great Leviathan.
Oz, while completely pissed, she doesn't know as much as she should, but she knows that the Leviathan is something from myth and legend, and it's a story her captain told her a lot as like a bedtime story to scare her into sleeping. And she sort of scoffs when she hears people say, when she hears Dhuur'in say something like the drowned one and the false serpent, and she goes, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But she is she's a bit nervous in a way that she usually isn't. Where she's very loud, she's now just like, no fucking clue. Not really, no.
Sight check.
While this is going, yeah, go ahead and make an,
Against Ozla.
Yeah, Ozla, make a charisma check, and at the same time, go ahead and make an insight check. Nox. I mean, not charisma check. Deception check.
Saving throw. Check. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So Ozla's making a deception check, and Nox, you're making.
I'm making an insight check.
Yeah.
I'm making a perception check.
No, you're making a deception check.
Because you're lying to me.
Wait, I can't hear what
you're
deception.
You're deception. Yeah, deception.
Okay, I thought it's perception. Okay. 9.
18.
So Nox, from kind of her tone of voice, you've having a silver tongue of your own and kind of like working your way through the merchant trade as a caravan, you can kind of tell when someone's keeping a secret. But not only that, you can also kind of tell when someone's keeping a secret and for possibly a good personal reason. So it definitely does. You can definitely tell she's hiding something, and you can also tell that what she's hiding seems to scare her a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nox is kind of is looking at her as she speaks, and you can sort of tell by the look on her face that she's very clearly thinking, and not fully believing what she says, but she'll just kind of, after a couple of seconds, she kind of seems to make a decision to like not call her on it, and instead she just says, whatever it is, it has a specific interest in you. And for that reason, it has a specific interest in all of us now.
And with that, we are going to take a quick break.
Oh my god.
Say the line. Say the line, Connor. What are you going to go do? What are you going to go make?
I'm going to go make some tea.
Oh.
Oh, no.
And your DM has to make a BM.
Yeah!